Welcome back to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network. As we close out 2025, it's time to take stock, not just of what happened, but what it means. This year has been brutal, beautiful, painful, and it has been revealing. I'm here with my co-host, Brea Baker, and we are going to talk about everything from the immigration crackdowns to DEI rollbacks to generational protests and culture fights. The stakes have never been higher for Black communities, immigrants, and it's time that we stand for justice, even more so than ever.
And this recap that we're going to do is more than just the headlines. These stories show patterns, attempts to erase, to silence, to rewrite who belongs in America and how people continue to resist. So today we're walking you through the major moments of 2025, those flashpoints, the fights, the movements, and we're asking ourselves and you, what does this year tell us about where we are and where we go from here? But first, the headlines. So some recent news, Representative Jasmine Crockett has launched her Senate run in Texas, shaking up the Democratic primary. Representative Crockett has been a very notable force in the resistance of the Trump administration. She has been unapologetic. She has not code switched. She's been in some very public battles with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she has snapbacks for days. People are excited to see what it could look like to have not just a Black woman, but this Black woman in the Senate.
Yes, and already there's been some discrepancy online where folks are criticizing Jasmine Crockett's record. Rightfully so, right? That is a part of our democratic process. And I think we need to give space for that. At the same time, let's not replicate many of the same toxic behaviors and misogynoir behaviors that we saw happen in the last few elections, particularly the election of Kamala Harris running for president. Criticism is necessary. Discrimination and abusive words does not help the conversation, does not move our party forward. So I'm super excited for this announcement. I think it's going to open the race up and hopefully, allow us to have more critical conversations regarding the type of Democrat we want to be representing our interests. It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds over the next few months.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very, very excited to see this.
I'm excited too. Yeah. So in my first headline of the day is an interesting one, and there are mixed feelings on whether or not it's a good decision. We've all seen over the last few years the devastating implications that social media has had on our young people, especially those under age 16. And many countries are already taking steps to limit access to social media for mental health, for physical safety. And Australia is taking the first step. They are putting a national ban on social media accounts, no access for social media accounts for children under the age of 16 years old. This ban will extend to platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Snapchat, YouTube, TikTok, Kick, Reddit, Twitch, and X. All of the platforms are claiming that they will comply with the ban by using age verification technology to identify under 16-year-olds and suspend those accounts. But those platforms are saying that they do not believe that by doing so, it would actually make children safer. That's up for debate. What I will say, it's interesting to see a country actually taking active steps to see the problem, which is social media, right? Social media has had mental and physical effects on adults, right? And at least taking the first step to see whether or not how this could impact students' learning, students' ability to function and find some sense of self without getting on the internet and being criticized or being targeted by bots, digital bullies, or predators.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that. I know that Meta has just rolled out teen accounts and they have restrictions, but those restrictions are not. Yeah, I don't trust it either. And that's why I'm like, honestly, I think that the removal of access is the right move. I saw that there was one investigative report about how effective those teen accounts were. So someone created a teen account as if they were a young male, and they were shown so much misogynistic content, so much Charlie Kirk-esque content, begging the question like, okay, so are you just feeding teens something that's going to further radicalize them towards like being anti-women, anti-racial justice? Like, what are you actually filtering out if that's what you're showing? And ultimately, it's not changing the fact that these screens are not, like, the screen time is just not good at that age with how much your self-esteem and like personal brand, like even thinking of personal branding and at that age is insane. You know, I'm just grateful that I had a childhood where that wasn't the case. And this is where I feel like I'm aging myself. But yeah, I'm really grateful. Like I didn't have social media until I was in college, like truly.
I know there's something to be said. There's something to be said though about that period of time. It was so nostalgic to think about how like in order to like figure out what was going on with your friends, you actually had to call them. You know, you had to go see them. You had to go sit with them in the cafeteria. You had to go to their house and like sit on their floor or sit on their couch. And I think that has been such an indicator of how far we've removed ourselves from building community with each other, because we feel like if we see their updates on Instagram, we know exactly how their life is going. But Instagram, social media is such like a highlight reel of people's lives. I also think it's important to note that the ban in Australia does not include apps like Discord, GitHub, Google Classroom, Lego Play, Messenger, Pinterest, Roblox, STEM and STEM chat, WhatsApp, and YouTube Kids. A lot of people are perplexed by that because we've seen in recent years a lot of gaming sites have specifically been targeting. There's been adult predators who have been targeting children inside these chats. So we'll see. We'll continue to see how this unfolds, but I think it's a prime example that we do need to safeguard children's access to very inappropriate help, safeguard my access to inappropriate content, because it is eating away at our brains. And I'm hopeful that this will have better impact for the self-esteem and safety of children.
Yeah,
America,
facts, you know, I mean, no, we're not watching. Of course we're not. We never do anything good. Australia has also been really great at curbing gun violence after their last mass shooting, and
speak on it.
Do shit about that. So, but no, I'm excited. It feels like this is a first step, and hopefully they do expand it and deepen it. And when they see, you know, if they see success with it. To go to another headline and another congressional race, Brad Lander, for those who are unfamiliar, he was a top candidate for New York City mayor. He linked arm in arm with Zoran Mamdani, who is the next mayor of New York City. And they really were in deep support of one another's campaigns, both great progressives. Brad Lander is a Jewish American leader in New York City who was really close to taking it and really in a move that showed that he was more committed to progressives making it over the finish line than in him being the one to take the glory. He made sure that he backed Zoran so that, you know, they weren't splitting the vote in a way that would lead to Cuomo or Eric Adams getting in. And so after that move, Brad Lander is now running for Congress with full support from his friend Zoran Mamdani. I think a lot of New Yorkers are excited to see that because he was their, you know, second choice if it hadn't been Mamdani to be the next mayor. And now we'll hopefully get both of them representing New York in some capacity. So I think this is an exciting move and shows the power of coalitions, that in a world where everyone is trying to be the next star, there's nothing more beautiful than actually committing to the agenda, committing to the platform, committing to the people, and finding your lane. And that lane didn't end up being the mayoral race for him, but it might be Congress. So stay tuned on whether he'll take that seat from the current incumbent.
And this is a prime example why we need to build the bench, right? Like to really sustain the work of any elected official, he needs allies within his party, allies within city council, allies within different branches of government that enables for his policy to pass at the state, at the federal level, which is why we need to invest more in like creating pathways for progressive candidates to be able to run for office. And I do think we're going to see an influx of that in 2026, similar to what we saw in, was it 2016 and 2020? So I'm excited for a potential blue wave. And I think that I love the fact that Lander and Mamdani were very true to their cause, didn't allow themselves to waver, even in the face of like heavy criticism from mainstream media. And I think that has won over the hearts and minds of a lot of voters who feel like candidates are willing to throw certain communities under the bus in order to get themselves elected. The tide is changing.
And they do have to do that. Yeah. He's very proud to be Jewish, and he was very proud to support a Muslim American to be the next mayor of New York City. And I'm really excited to see the way that they are able to prove that you can be progressive and proud of who you are while also not needing to be the only voice in the room.
Exactly. So my final headline is a doozy. Unfortunately, we know the Trump administration hates immigrants. We know the Republican Party is looking for ways to continue to create barriers for immigrants to come into this country, immigrants who are already a part of the process of receiving citizenship to be blocked. And so in this next kind of chapter of cruel and unusual punishment, the Trump administration wants to recruit more deportation judges to reside over some of the lower courts. What we've seen in recent months is that been based on the problem that the Trump administration has created. Right now, we have a backlog of more than 4 million immigration cases that are still pending, and it continues to grow. And because of this massive influx of cases, there's not enough judges to preside over them. And as a result, the immigration or the Department of the Executive Office of Immigration Review has launched a new campaign ad and a website to recruit new judges who can be a part of the Trump kind of regime to kick out immigrants and asylum seekers. So just when you think they couldn't go any lower, they lifted the floor and went to hell. Yep.
Right. I'm like, and they were already in hell and they found new depths to hell. It is mind blowing the way that they can continue to prove like it actually can get worse. Like just when you think that it's rock bottom, as you said, nope, they've lifted the floor. That is
They're like, hold my beer. We can get worse.
Right. That is insane. I think it also just proves why down ballots matter so much and why we need people in every vein. I think a lot of eyes, rightfully so to an extent, go towards, presidential races, Senate races, governor races, but we need aldermen, city councilmen, judges, district attorneys. We need to be in all of these spaces, school board of education, because they're in all of these places. I think that is how their strategy has proven so successful. They really entrench themselves in local politics so that when they did take over federal politics, they were already in place to just continue it. It's God, it's never ending,
but it needs to end. We'll see. With that being said, we're going to take a quick break. Again, you are watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network, and we will be right back.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Welcome back to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network. Let's begin with one of the biggest undercurrents of the year, the systematic rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across institutions and industries. From federal agencies to universities, corporations to nonprofits, 2025 became the year DEI went under siege.
Yeah, this past December, a class action lawsuit was filed challenging the mass dismissal of federal employees working in DEI roles under the new administration's purge. And things have only gotten worse. I mean, Reuters had sort of reported on the fact that there are workers who were tasked with protecting civil rights, advocating for racial equity. They've all been boxed out, scapegoated, and fired. And we've seen that all year long.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, it's not just the government. Major law firms are quietly scrubbing DEI language from their website, rebranding their programs, or shuttling diversity initiatives entirely, all less than a year into 2025. So the Guardian also has stated that meanwhile, universities are also shutting down student magazines and ethnic study programs under the anti-DEI pressure. That was also highlighted in Politico. And it's just like, what are y'all doing? And it's so frustrating because many of these programs, it took decades to get installed, and the type of damage that are being done within months. I don't want anyone else to tell me that progress takes time.
Hello, because unraveling the progress happens in the blink of an eye, as we're seeing right now. It's really scary, and it's affecting real livelihoods. I mean, this isn't simply administrative housekeeping. It's a whiteout. It's the attempt to erase institutional memory, to undermine protection programs, to reinstate the status quo that was built on systemic exclusion. And as one recent report put it with the Center for American Progress, this push undercuts decades of civil rights gains and weakens structural protections for Black and marginalized people. And as you said, it's work that has taken so long to get across the finish line, and it's being dragged back.
Yeah, and for people on the ground, students, workers, organizers, this means fewer protections, less representation, and more vulnerability, especially now when economic pressures, immigration crackdowns, and social instability are reaching new heights, and it is bleeding into each and every one of our communities every single day.
We got work to do. We have
Black-led nonprofits taking down certain words from their websites, which is like,
oh, absolutely, yeah.
You are complying in advance.
I was about to say, we've said this phrase so much this year: complying in advance. There's so many companies and people with plenty of money who are doing that and absolutely don't need to. And then there's some who are doing it from this place of self-preservation of like, how do we protect these programs, considering the lawsuits that places like Fearless Fund have had to undergo, the fact that affirmative action made it all the way to the Supreme Court just to be pulled back. Like, I mean, there are real fears here. These attacks on DEI are not just affecting jobs, even though that's dangerous all on its own. It's not just affecting representation and diversity, though that's dangerous all on its own. It's affecting real safety nets. It's affecting programs that, for literally you and I don't know if I'd be at a Yale University graduate had it not been for affirmative action programs that insisted that I have value and that I need to be considered. And these programs are being rolled back in the name of like reverse racism. And it's definitely very scary and very alarming. And to imagine what it's going to take to get these programs back in place and to undo the unraveling, right? Like it's just going to be so much work because it was already so much work to get it done in the first place. So this is, I would say, the attacks on DEI is definitely one of the biggest moments of the year, and it's going to take a movement to address it.
Yeah, and I think people think DEI only was affording opportunities for Black folks, but we're now seeing white women also are facing uphill battles and other immigrant groups. What's happening in DEI also was a precursor to the attacks that we are now seeing on immigration and deportation and the fear landscape that is being perpetuated by the Trump administration. And we're going to talk more about that in the next segment. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching On the Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of Black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Welcome back to The Other Side of Change. We are going through some of the biggest moments politically, socially, economically of the year. And we just finished talking about the anti-DEI moments of the Trump administration. Now we are going to be digging into one of the most painful and urgent stories of 2025, which has been the wave of deportations, ICE raids, and aggressive immigration enforcement under the second Trump administration. In cities across the country, from New Orleans to Minneapolis to Los Angeles to Chicago, immigrant communities have lived in increasingly untenable conditions, and many others who are citizens but have been attacked, like Black Americans in Chicago, indigenous folks in the Southwest. Things have been getting really, really scary.
Yeah, a new study that just came out in 2025 found that 41% of immigrants now say that the U.S. is too tough in enforcing immigration laws, more than double that share from 2023. A large portion said they avoid everyday activities like work, medical care, or seeking assistance for fear of arrest. People are going without because they are fear of getting picked up while coming back from the grocery store, or being fearful of getting picked up while dropping their kids off for school. That is not just fear, that is an exile in place. Like, I get so emotional thinking about it because I've seen the videos of people being dragged out of their cars where their children are crying, or a woman being chased down the street as she's walking home from the grocery store. Like, this is the type of America that we've allowed to be created in our absence of advocacy.
Yeah, 1 million. I think it's to your point of the videos, it's been scary seeing, cops posted up outside of schools, outside of churches, outside of workplaces, just waiting to catch people. As you said, traffic stops turning into kidnappings. It has been really alarming. And we knew this from the first Trump administration, that he was going to come down hard on immigration. He had done the Muslim bans and things of that nature, but as you said, it has become untenable. People are not getting medical care, or not going to school, or not going to work. I mean, school districts have said like attendance is all the way down because parents are worried that they will never see their children again, and that they'll get separated during a school day. I mean, the crackdown has also not just targeted undocumented people, even lawfully present migrants and naturalized citizens report feeling less safe. People who are born in America reported feeling less safe. ICE raids in Chicago destroyed apartment buildings full of citizens. I mean, it has led to distrust of the legal system. People, as you said, avoiding basic needs and being afraid for their lives and their families.
Yeah, and communities are responding. The Day Without Immigrant protest this year showed how central immigrants are to the U.S. economy and the culture, and how fragile their safety really is under the current policy. I saw a school the other day that the students, I think they were high school students, walked out of the school in protest in solidarity with immigrants. And it's just a prime example that we can, each and every one of us have a role to play. So whether you are as young as a high schooler or a middle schooler, or you as successful as a business leader, there's a role you can play in making sure that we can protect the lives of immigrants, because they are core to who America is. America would be nothing without immigrants and slaves. But more importantly, they contribute every single day to upholding and sustaining our economy in certain industries that immigrants dominate in, and we are indebted to them, and we need to protect them.
Yeah, I could not agree more. As immigration enforcement ramps up, of course, economic instability is rising. We just talked about the DEI protections that are vanishing. I mean, the pressure on immigrant communities, specifically Black and brown ones, has just continued to intensify. And while there has been just really beautiful organizing and protesting being done. We absolutely need to see more. 2025 has shown that deportation is not just an immigration issue. It's a racial and human rights crisis, and one that we all need to make our voices heard on. So we could not end the year without underscoring how critical it is that we all stand for migrants, because if we don't, we're just sitting ducks waiting for our turn. So we're going to continue talking exactly about what's left standing and the continued attacks on civil rights just after this short break. Again, you're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Welcome back to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network. As Brea has mentioned, we are doing a year in review as we close out 2025, the year of hell. But there's also been some great things that have happened in each of our personal lives. But the truth of the matter is, this has been an all-out attack on everything that we know to be true about our democracy, our civil rights, and what's left standing as a result. So heavy on another thread this year is attacks on democracy, civil rights, and the representation. We talked earlier about the rollbacks of DEI and the gutting of civil rights enforcement, but also let's talk about voter suppression and economic sabotage. The structure of equity in America is being strategically unraveled in broad daylight.
Exactly. The vision laid out by what's sometimes referred to as the Great Resegregation. It's been this radical push to re-engineer America to be poorer, whiter, less equal, and less democratic. And it's felt very real this year. There's been an immense whitewashing, whether it be redistricting of maps, rewriting school curriculum, censoring Black thought. It's been a deep and direct attack on multiracial democracy, and one that, again, feels really hard to undo.
Because it feels unhard to undo because we've seen how long it takes to get us here, right? And I think, and it's hitting Black middle class and working class families hard. Let's start with jobs. In early 2025, Black women unemployment rose to nearly 40% compared to white women due to the targeting of eliminating DEI jobs, HR departments, and community center positions across both corporate and nonprofit sectors. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Black women now face jobless rate at 6.9%, double that of white women, and significantly higher than pre-2020 levels. That's not just a stat. That is economic violence.
Yeah. I mean, and as inflation eats into household budgets, we can't afford any of this. The Biden era boost to SNAP benefits officially expired this spring, affecting over 40 million Americans. Of course, that disproportionately affecting Black and brown families. The average family of three has lost $95 a month in food support. In states like Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas, where food insecurity was already high, food pantries saw demand jump 35% immediately after those cuts. As Jamira said, this isn't just policy, it's survival.
Yeah, now layer that in what the Department of Education did this year, right? In May of 2025, the DOE, under conservative leadership, redefined what counts as a professional degree from federal financing aid calculations, excluding dozens of programs from Black surveying institutions to progressive fields like public health, social work, gender studies, and African American studies. It means thousands of students of color saw their loan caps slashed or lost access to full Pell Grant eligibility. And again, the burden falls hardest on Black and first-gen students, which we know is an intentional effort by the Trump administration because Trump hates Black people.
Hello. Yeah. Using, not that we're not supporters of Kanye anymore, but like to what he said about George Bush back during Katrina, like he really does. The systemic nature of this, it's not just on paper. It's people's real lives, whether it's your job, your groceries, your degree, your medical care. Everything has become deeply, deeply politicized, and the outcome is the same. Less power for us, less access for us, less representation for us. Marginalized people become more marginalized, and the powerful become richer and have more access than they ever had before.
Yeah, and to be honest, we can't forget about the political implications of that. All of these economic policies shrink Black middle class, voter turnout, and also that impacts every single decision we're able to make for the betterment of our communities. Add in that we now have voter ID laws, polling closures, federal felony disenfranchisement that is happening to voters, and strategic disinformation. And you're looking at a map being redrawn all across the country to try to limit the representation of Black and Brown in the voting pool, as we saw in Texas.
Yeah, they're trying to make sure that that all of the changes and shifts that they've made in the last 12 months alone are very cemented. Thankfully, in response, the National Urban League has declared a state of emergency for civil rights in 2025 and is really sounding the alarm, as are many other organizations. They've warned that the dismantling of federal protections of education access and economic equity will reshape America for a generation, if not many more. As I said, they're not alone. Organizations from the NAACP to the Advancement Project have also echoed those alarms. And so it's not that people are unaware of what's happening. It's that we just have to be more organized and showing that we're not going to stand for this.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back only on the other side of change, Black Star Network.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America. They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory, attack woke, DEI. MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
Welcome back to the other side of change, only on the Black Star Network. Of course, we couldn't talk about every single thing that has happened this year, but we wanted to highlight some of the most monumental things that have led to everything from the democracy being shifted, DEI, unemployment rates, but even more importantly, everything that is happening to our ability to even read, like book bans. So what does 2025 teach us as a community, as a movement, as a nation? First, power shows up not just through laws, but also through what we allow in the servicemen of our government. Who gets hired, who gets fired, and who gets protected and who doesn't.
Yeah. And secondly, when immigration, employment, civil rights, and culture are all under attack, resistance cannot be one-dimensional. The problems are not one-dimensional, so neither can our fight in response. It must be economic justice, immigrant justice, racial justice, and cultural justice merged all together, intersectionally, community-centered, unapologetic. We need these coalitions.
Yeah, and also we learned that even when institutions fail us, and they will time and time again, we still have agency. Our media, our neighborhoods, our network, our values, they're hard to erase, and more people are realizing this. This is why there's been a surge in mutual aid, in local organizing, in cross-community solidarity. Even local papers are coming back.
So the final and most important lesson of 2025, the fight is never, ever over. Yes, 2025 was brutal, really brutal, but it also sharpened us. The threats are real, really real. The enemies are visible. The stakes, our lives, our futures are clearer than ever, but we have more fight left in us. And when we come back from the break, we're going to close out by reminding you exactly how you can do that, how we bring this energy into 2026, and we do not double down. We do not comply in advance. You are watching The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.